Good morning. Welcome back to Breakfast Television. And this is one day, one topic that I'm okay with Dina being away for because she would razz me as much as she could. Modern dating can be challenging. Simply finding the right person is also challenging. Knowing to take a relationship to the next level, when to commit, when to get out of a relationship, all of that is challenging. Behavioral scientist Logan Ury's new book, How Not to Die Alone, focuses on all the ways that you can get out of your own way to make better choices and break old patterns as you navigate the world of modern love. And that's how I spent my Sunday before the Super Bowl, learning how not to die alone. Logan, good morning. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me back. It's great to see you.
I'm happy to have you back. Last time you called me out, and I expect more of that's going to happen today. That's why I'm okay with Dina being off this morning. But let's talk about this book. I got a chance to read all about it. And, you know, right from the start, you mentioned how dating now is so different and so much more, to stick with that word, challenging now than it ever has been.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for spending your Super Bowl Sunday also learning about your dating life. And it's great to be back and talk to you about it. And yes, there's a lot of factors that make dating really challenging right now. And this is things like putting more pressure on ourselves, having more choice than ever before. The fact that we have dating apps that give us many, many options, but we're not necessarily, our brains aren't designed to know how to go through all of those options. And that can be really challenging for people.
It's very challenging. And, you know, there was a survey that I did based on this, and it's to help you kind of understand the type of dater you might be. There's some tendencies we have. When I took this, I scored high in all three categories. That could be a problem, right?
Oh, man. Okay, so what is there for you to do? Yeah, so I'll explain the three tendencies.
Please do.
The idea is that I had dating coaching clients that would come see me. They were from all different backgrounds, many different types of life, many different types of people, but I found that they all struggled with the same three issues. There was a pattern of behavior that each of them had, and they all had to do with unrealistic expectations. And so the first one is the romanticizer, unrealistic expectations of relationships. The second one is a maximizer. They suffer from unrealistic expectations of their partner. And the third one is the hesitator. They have unrealistic expectations of themselves. Oh. And so the whole point of my book, and especially in the beginning, is to help you take this quiz and say, what's holding you back from finding love? What are your blind spots? And once you actually have that information, it helps you take discrete action to overcome those blind spots and actually find someone.
Is it easier for someone else to maybe take that survey for us? You know what I mean? Are we blocked in kind of, you know, tunnel vision when it comes to our own behaviors?
Yes, that's absolutely true. And that's why it's called dating blind spots, right? Mm-hmm. There's something that it's hard for us to identify, but it's holding us back. And when I was actually validating the quiz, I would have people take it and I would say, I know your results. What do you think your results were? And then I would also have them send it to their best friend. Right. And I would say, what do you think your best friend got? And the best friends were often more accurate at predicting the dating tendency than the person themselves. And I think that that proves the whole point, that at a certain point in time, we have these patterns of behavior. We've been doing them for a long time. It's hard for us to see them. And that's why it's really important to ask a friend or a family member, what do you think it is that's holding me back? And that's step one in understanding yourself and getting out of your own way.
I want to look at these three again, so individually, and see what points you might have for us to overcome or adjust or learn from being that type of person. So let's start with the romanticizer, and quickly, a point that might help us change a little bit.
Yeah. So with the romanticizer, they love love. They believe in the soulmate. They think that they'll go to the farmer's market and they'll reach for a tomato and their perfect partner will reach for that tomato at the same time. And they'll have this amazing meet cute. And for them, it's about finding love should be effortless. Love should find them. And love itself should be effortless. Once you get into a relationship, if it's with the right person, then it'll be so easy. And what's holding the romanticizer back is that they're not actually willing to put the effort into finding someone, and that they have this mistaken belief that love should be easy. And that's not true. Love requires effort. Love requires daily attention. And so for them, the point is that they should shift from this soulmate mindset, the idea of love being effortless, to the work it out mindset. The idea that if love feels like work, then you're doing it right.
Okay, you're just going to lock eyes across the room and boom, live happily ever after. Maximizers, talk to us about them.
So maximizers are very common. They're definitely the most common under the dating coaching clients that I see. And I think our culture is really creating a lot of maximizers. And these are people who feel like they can research their way to the right answer. It's the person who has to do all of that research before they go to a restaurant, before they buy headphones, right? They feel like there's an objective right choice. And the thing about the maximizer is they always wonder who else could be out there. And that's just not the best way to make decisions. Just making decisions is much more about how you feel about someone versus the objective right choice. And so they should switch to the satisficer mindset. Those are people who set their expectations high. And once they've achieved them, then they're happy with them, but they're not always wondering what else is out there.
That's it. And then there's the hesitator. And is the hesitator kind of sabotaging themselves?
Yes, the hesitator is that friend. I bet you know people like this. Devo, we might have even talked about you being like this. And this is the person who says, one day I'll wake up and be ready. I'll be ready to date when I lose 10 pounds, when I have a more impressive job, when I clean my house. And there's always this thing that they're waiting for, and then they'll be ready. And the mistake that the hesitator makes is understanding that nobody is ever 100% ready for anything. At some point, you just have to put yourself out there. And the thing about the hesitator is they're missing out on two important things. One, learning what kind of person they want to be with, which takes time. And two, getting better at dating, because dating is a skill.
The spark. Last thing I'm going to ask you, the spark. You talk about this. Is that something that is just, do you kind of call a bluff on that? Or is it something that really exists?
Devo, I'm so sorry, but I think I hear the producers in my ear. It's hard to hear you.
Sorry, I was just asking about the spark. You have a chapter on the spark and fully on that. Is that something that you think is kind of a thing of the past and doesn't really exist, or is that something that is there?
Yes. Okay. So I have a chapter, and I'm not going to curse on your show, but it is called F the Spark. And this is all about the idea that we have this misconception of what love should feel like. And this comes from rom-coms, and it comes from Disney movies. And it's this idea that you're going to meet someone and there's going to be this initial pang of excitement, and the whole world is going to stop, and it's just going to be you and the other person. And while the spark can happen, it often leads people astray because they're expecting to have that feeling. And there's three main myths about the spark that I debunk in the book. One of them is that if you don't feel the spark, it can't grow. And we know that that's not true. Only 11% of people feel love at first sight. And people often end up marrying their friends, somebody from work. The spark can grow over time. The second thing we find is that people think if I have the spark, it must be a good thing. And that's just not the case. Oftentimes when we have the spark, it's because we're confusing anxiety for chemistry. And then the third thing is that we think, oh, well, if I felt the spark, then this must be a viable relationship. And that's just not the case. Maybe that person was very sparky and they gave you that amazing feeling, but you shouldn't be with someone just because you had an amazing how we met story. And it's really all about what is the relationship like day to day? What side of you do they bring out? And it's not about that initial how we met, because if you think about it, that's really, 0.01% of the relationship. And so while the spark is very intoxicating, I find that it often distracts people. And they say things like, I had a great date, but I just didn't feel the spark. And instead, we should go for the slow burn. That's the person who gets better over time, who we like more and more as we're with them. And they may not give you that initial pang of excitement, but they would make a great long-term partner.
Logan, there's so much. I wish you could share this information with all the people on The Bachelor. LoganUry.com is what you can check out. And, of course, How Not to Die Alone is the name of the book. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great to see you. Good luck.
You too. Sometimes
Bye.
you got to go with that gut feeling. And my gut feeling right now is talking about some eggs and some sandwiches. And we've got that. Oh, is this a smash cake as well? Okay, there's so much happening over here. We're going to show you after the break. Stick around.